Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is back on Prime with a new mission and his efforts to maintain justice. The titular season has a total of 8 episodes. In today's video, we prepared the scoop for the fans of the Jack Ryan series. So let's get going. First up, Jack Ryan in the City of Illusions, Roma. In the much-awaited 3rd season of Tom Clancy's thriller, Jack Ryan is working as a case officer for the CIA in Rome, Italy. While working for the CIA, the former US Marine is informed about a top-secret plan called the Sokol Project, just after presenting this alleged scheme. Sokol is initiated to restore the Soviet Empire after its dismantlement in the early 80s and 90s. The Sokol Project was resurrected after 50 years when it was thought to have been shut down. To confirm the intelligence, Ryan assembles a team to extract the information, but in the midst of it all, rescues an insider who turns out to be a Russian seeking asylum. The Russian native is no foreigner to the Cold War era secret project, but the story takes a turn when the insider is terminated. Plus, our protagonist, searching for more about this dangerous threat, finds himself in unsafe zones, like in any Jack Ryan story. Ryan is accused of treason with a red notice and has his government and the Russian forces on his tail. Along with his fellow CIA officer, James Greer, Ryan will try to solve this puzzle of uncertainty. While operating underground, Ryan is racing against the clock to halt the domino effect of destabilizing conflicts before it becomes a global catastrophe. Next up, the political dilemmas. To make matters even worse, the world of politics is shaken when Dmitry Popov, the Russian defense minister, is assassinated right in front of the Czech president, Elena Kovac, while attending a diplomatic meeting with the Russian minister. Meanwhile, the Western Bloc is pressuring the Czech president, Kovac, to let NATO station surface-to-air missiles on Czech soil to prevent Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Throughout this series of events, our analyst-turned-agent for the CIA is stuck in a heated political dilemma between the former enemies of the Cold War and is chased by its people, labeling him a traitor on the accusation of the Espionage Act. Ryan travels across Europe to Vienna, hoping to find the source of his original Sokol Project intelligence. Meanwhile, Czech President Elena's father hosts a social hunt in the Czech woods, where we witness a breach of trust. Peter Kovac sets out to rescue his daughter Elena, who is kidnapped by someone close to the president. On the other hand, Greer finds some incriminating information about Peter Kovac. Peter successfully retrieves his daughter, the Czech president, before the dreadful, shocking truth about her father and his past is unraveled in a fatal confrontation with Luka. Coming up, Budapest affairs. Ryan and Mike are now in Budapest, plotting a sting on a shady arms dealer to track down the Sokol nuclear device. Ryan races when he discovers a plan to prevent the detonation of a Sokol atomic device. After completing their sting operation, Ryan and Mike jet off to a mysteriously abandoned outpost in Russia to ultimately seize the nuclear device and end this dirty scheme once and for all. Unfortunately, an unexpected visitor obstructs their plans. Ryan decides to travel to Moscow with Luka to expose the top cabal personnel within the government who are now perpetrating the Sokol Project. Ryan, Greer, Luka, Wright, and Elena eventually band together to prevent the start of a possible Third World War. Moving on, Season 3's flimsy plot revolves around politics and static action. Shows like Jack Ryan never have exciting action scenes that make the audience hold their breath or bring sharpness to the plot and turn it into a political thriller. Sadly, it was apparent in the titular season of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Then we saw plot holes in Season 3 that transformed Jack Ryan into a heroic action figure who only bleeds a little and gets scuffed sometimes. But why is it an issue when it comes to writing? Because his injury was entirely omitted in the recent season. It used to be an integral part of the plot that even in the opening credit, you see his spinal cord x-ray. The way writers missed this significant part of the former US Marines character is beyond us to comprehend. If you talk about the action scenes, when we see Ryan fulfilling his spy and heroic duties, from extensive car chasing to infiltration missions carried out in the dark of the night to shootouts. But they all had one thing in common: the way it was staged seemed static and missed out on on making it feel tense that the audience gets up in anticipation. Out of the other 2 seasons, the titular season has the most action scenes, from which a lot was done on location and practically carried out. The Chernobyl operation and ship invasion in the opening, followed by the car chase, were some of the scenes worth the applause. Following up, season 3 needed a better script. Yes, we agree that the writing is faulty, but what happened to all the key actors? The actors seemed stiff, and Krasinski is back to channeling his energy from the previous seasons only in the action sequences. Remember the dry and unconvincing dialogue delivery that makes the protagonist feel less intimidating, witty, or humorous? Pierce and Gabriel are far too uninteresting, and we get to see some amusing moments of Kelly, but they don't stand out much. Cosmo had a lot of screen time, most of which was spent by him making threats or smoking cigarettes. Simply a waste of a good actor's talents. But 2 actors did stand out, Nina Hoss and Peter Guinness. The storyline revolving around politics needed depth and sharpness, plus the stereotypical characters and dull actions proved to be a bummer. The series did well in its first season, but now we're witnessing a steady decline with circling conspiracies and no passion invested in the details to take it up a notch. To summarize, all this season needs and demands is clarity, capturing the emotions without omitting essential character details, and reflecting the character skills. Let's look at the season 3 finale. Spoilers ahead. In Star of the Wall, Jack, after preventing Sokol from destroying a town in the Czech, is on a mission to stop Fearless, a Russian destroyer, from initiating Cold War 2.0. The Fearless was the final stage of the scheme to trigger the US, leading to armed conflict. We also witnessed the staging of a coup to overthrow President Surikov of Russia by the Petrov-led cabal. On the other hand, if we look at the White House, Chief Elizabeth Wright, former CIA Rome station, convinces the president and the Joint Chiefs that Jack Ryan isn't a traitor. In the season finale, the CIA analyst's main focus was on how to make the captain break his rules of engagement. When the former US Marine forced the USS Roosevelt to let him board after being denied access, it didn't take long for the captain to know Ryan's true intentions. The solo Fearless was deployed in the Baltic Sea to target Roosevelt and spark tensions. Meanwhile, Roosevelt's captain was torn between his orders and whether to believe the CIA agent. Following up, Jack's ace in the hole. Luca proved to be Jack's secret weapon, which was aboard the Fearless. In the 60s, Luca was part of the original Sokol project, but he turned his back on the plotters to prevent another war. The Russian spy master planned to kill Captain Antonov, a part of Petrov's coup, but after being apprehended and imprisoned in the brig, Luca tried to convince the Fearless first officer to trust his instincts that Captain Antonov was up to no good. After Antonov launched a missile at the Roosevelt, the first officer mutinied against his captain and had him arrested with the help of the Russian spy master. With Antonov in custody, the Fearless disbanded, and Jack and Luca stopped World War III successfully. Luca was undoubtedly the most intriguing character of the titular season. Jack could never fully trust Luca and thought of him as an old Russian spy bound to betray, but all Luca wanted to do was prevent the dangerous Sokol scheme, a sin of his past. Jack and Luca can never be friends, but Luca sees a hint of himself in Ryan, someone with a solid moral compass. The former Russian spy can feel the CIA analyst repeating his mistakes, and he wants to show Ryan that he needs to be better than the institution he serves. After Luca stopped the Fearless, he was picked up by the KGB, but it's doubtful the old former Russian killer got away from the KGB. Only season 4 will unravel Luca's fate. Lastly, some other significant moments of the season finale. Meanwhile, James Greer, Mike, and Czech's president save the Russian president. The trio enters the Kremlin from a secret tunnel and then splits up to prevent the coup in 2 different ways. Plan B was for Greer to let himself be caught so that he could take the diplomatic route and have a chance to talk to Petrov and offer him asylum in the US and even his apartments. Petrov declined Greer's offer as expected, but it was just a way to buy time and execute Plan A to meet the Russian president. Elena and Mike, along with Popov's widow. After hearing her and Petrov's tape confessing the murder of Defense Minister Popov, realize he's in danger. President Surikov instructed his guards, who shot Petrov dead. The Russian president then apprehended the so-called conspirators in his government, ending the coup. Greer, Elena, and Mike were free to leave, and Surikov was grateful to them. On the other hand, President Kovac lost her father, Peter, but his dark past shattered her. As part of the coup attempt, Peter worked for Petrov and murdered Popov. Peter was Czech's president's closest advisor and manipulated her all along. Elena's father even married her mother for her status and political connections. What's more, Peter even rigged presidential elections to ensure Elena won. But on a positive note, she built a good relationship with Russia and the US. How can we forget Elizabeth being director of the CIA? As a newly appointed director, she awards Jack the Bronze Intelligence Star and James a medal for his bravery. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts about the recent season of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you with the next one.